guys, and welcome to today's video, the first one of 2022. So today we're going to be playing with the idea of making a faux neon light sign in our illustrating Bible. And of course, neon lights look the best against a black background. So I'm starting with just some black acrylic paint from Plaid and just filling in the entire space of my illustrating Bible there on the side. I thought I would need more than one coat, but I really didn't, so I just kind of kept a straight edge as best I could. I'm sure it's not perfect, but who cares about being perfect? And I'm going to set that aside to dry, and while that was drying, I actually did some playtime and tried to figure out how I wanted this title to look. And I think that's super important if you're doing something like this, to take that time to outside of your Bible kind of figure out how you want the layout to be. I did pull out my heat gun to finish drying my black paint. And then I am trying to measure things out here just to kind of make sure that I end up with some space, but I still do it wrong, so whatever. I tried. I tried to have a plan that kind of worked but kind of didn't, but I at least had the lines that my stuff was straight, so score points for me. So we are actually in Hebrews chapter 13, verse 8, where it says Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So our neon sign actually says New Year, same God. And I kind of played around with this idea in my little Delusions mini journal over here, just to kind of figure out, okay, once I figured out the layout I wanted in the style, how would it lay out, what would it look like against the black? So I am, of course, taking a mechanical pencil and writing this out. Always great to start with a little prep and a little playtime, because we are going to be using some Posca pens that are not super easy to change once you put them on there. So pencil is going to be our friend today. So I'm just kind of layering those on there. And you're going to see when I start adding the paint that I've left some gaps in there so that it really kind of has that neon sign feel, where, because most neon signs aren't straight lines. They have the little gaps where the tubes don't meet, and so I also kept that piece of paper on the side so I could kind of prep and prime my Posca pens. Now these are Posca pens that are the PC-5M bullet shaped. They are 1.8 to 2.5. That is what the little numbers say on there. And you're going to see throughout this video, I'm not going to make you watch all of it because no one wants to watch all of it. And the more layers you add, you get definitely a more solid feel. I'm going to show you pictures here in just a minute of what one layer looks like, what two layers looks like, and of course at the end I actually ended up doing 3 layers of paint. Just to really get a solid, solid for my sign, solid lettering. And so I'm loving how it's really already looking like my neon sign. So this is what it looked like after 1 layer of paint. You can see it's still a little transparent. This is 2 layers of paint. Again, getting a little more solid. And I am going to go ahead and add a 3rd layer. I just really wanted to make sure I didn't have any black kind of popping through and being able to be seen. If you know me at all, you know that hot pink, turquoise, and yellow are my colors, so I thought it was very appropriate to start this year off just in my happy place and trying something new. I love neon signs. I actually have one on my door that says live on air that my husband bought me for when I'm recording or when I'm actually doing Facebook Lives. And it's supposed to be the thing people know I'm on the air and they don't bother me, but they do anyway, but it's still really cool to have. So as you can see, I'm just super easy going over each of these. If you can't come up with an idea or you have kind of a struggle, go online, just Google neon sign. Clip art is a really great one because then you end up with pictures instead of like actual neon signs. And what's great about this is I'm actually going in with a small brush and some black paint and just cleaning up so that I have some sharper edges on a few places, making sure some of those gaps are a little more pronounced. Unfortunately, the black reflects that light quite a bit from my overhead light, so that's a little annoying, so I apologize if you can't see that super well. But it doesn't take much just to go in and touch up if you made any mistakes. You'll see later in this video I put my hand in something and smeared it, and so I had to go in and touch it up. But just your same black paint, your leftover black paint, and a thin brush, and you are good to go with this project. I am loving it. Like, it would be great even if you just kind of left it here. I think that's super fun. I think it gives the idea of the neon sign, but I really wanted to fill in some of that space. So I'm just going back in with my mechanical pencil and adding just some little lines here and there and some little circles, because I want to bring in that yellow just to add a little bit more pop of color. Now this yellow was brand new, so I kind of had to do the little tappy tap thing. What's really cool is I actually found these pins at Walmart, these Posca pins, and they were regularly $21.97, and they happened to be on clearance for 16 bucks. You can see them over there in that bottom left corner. And so I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, it was a good discount. So with that yellow, I also did 3 layers, but I didn't make you watch that. And to give that last little touch of neon, we're actually going to go in with a white gel pen, and we're going to just draw lines down the center of these. Now, of course, always keep in mind when you're dealing with Posca, whether you're adding these white lines or you're adding the layers to solidify your shape, make sure those are dry in between, because if you don't, it's just going to pick up that paint or it's going to gunk up your gel pen, all bad things. So just make sure they're dry in between each of your layers. It's a great time to bring out your heat gun because it doesn't take long for it to dry. So I'm just taking this, oh, you can see I goofed up there, I'll fix that later. My bad. Just shows it never goes perfect, but that's okay. But what this does is it gives that illusion of the curved shape of your neon signs and of that light tube in the middle. I just think this is a super fun, super easy, I guess, I don't want to call it a layout, technique, whatever you want to call it. I think it's fun. I love the way this came out. So you can do this with any kind of paint pens. It doesn't necessarily have to be Posca. You could probably do it with even regular markers, as long as it was a dark color marker and you still had the white highlight on top of it. So I think it would be super great to try this with things other than these paint pens. I love the idea of putting it on a black background because I really feel it gives that neon pop. But again, that's just me. So I'm just going over all of our letters, and you can really see it's giving it just some dimension and just giving it some extra oomph. Once again, our verse is Hebrew 13, verse 8, where it says, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And I just thought that was a great thing to start out the new year with. The end of my 2021 wasn't stellar, and so I really just wanted a reminder of no matter what I'm going through, He doesn't change. Because, you know, we go through the new year, new me syndrome, and we have all these New Year's resolutions. And no matter what we think our year is going to be like or how our year ended, that God is always the same. And so I really wanted this project to, it's almost like it's a sign, literally, I just thought about that. It's literally a neon sign reminding you that in the bad times, God is still the same. In the good times, God is still the same. In the in-between times where it's not good or it's not bad, it just kind of is what it is, that God is still the same. And so that's kind of the process that I went through, coming up with just the idea of what I wanted today's project to be. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.